The Frontier 12 research vessel hung on the edge of known space, a speck against the dazzling spray of the nebula NGC 3372. Commander Elise Chen gripping the armrest of her chair, the vast nebula reflected in her worried eyes. Dr. Jace Carter stood beside her, his gaze fixed on the gargantuan object looming ahead. It wasn't natural, a geometric behemoth that dwarfed their ship, a stark, brutal structure marring the cosmic canvas. "Final scan confirmed, Commander," Lieutenant Hiro Tanaka announced, his voice tight. "Unknown composition, no active energy readings, but..." He trailed off. "But what, Lieutenant?" Commander Chen asked sharply. "Sensor ghosts, ma'am. Massive residual energy signatures. And weapon fire, most likely. It appears the structure has been involved in heavy combat in the past." Jace shuddered. Here, on the fringes of explored space, they'd found what no one imagined existed. Not a relic, but a tomb. Chen turned to him. "Recommendations, Doctor?" He met her gaze, a flicker of ambition battling the unease in his stomach. "We investigate. The potential for discovery, Commander, is too great to dismiss out of hand. I can assemble a landing team." "Jace," Chen started, but he held up a hand. "Commander, this..." He gestured to the view screen. "This is the find of a millennium, or its end." He saw the reluctant acceptance in her eyes. This place reeked of danger, but backing down wasn't what had brought humanity this far. "Lieutenant, prep the shuttles. Doctor, you have 4 hours. And Jace?" Chen's voice hardened. "If anything feels wrong down there, you leave. Understood?" Jace nodded, a knot forming in his throat. This was his dream and potentially his nightmare. He had to know what secrets this cosmic tomb held and what fate befell its creators. Jace assembled his team. Irina, their security chief, a steely-eyed veteran twice his age, Anya, a brilliant but prickly xenolinguist, and Ben, an unassuming engineer with a deceptively clever streak. Their shuttle shuddered as it pierced the enigmatic structure's entry port, revealing a cavernous docking bay lit by a dim, sickly radiance. "Atmosphere breathable, radiation within acceptable parameters," Anya announced, her voice echoing in the vast chamber. The bay was littered with debris, twisted metal forms that could have been machinery. Whatever fight had occurred here, it was brutal and decisive. "Follow me. Central Hub is likely the best bet for answers," Jace muttered, flicking on his helmet light. The beam sliced through the gloom, revealing a gaping corridor. Jace was an academic at heart, but there was a thrill to the unknown that made his blood surge. The walls pulsed with strange glyphs, inactive and indecipherable. "Ben, can you get a reading on these?" he asked. Ben squinted at the control panel. Readings are... It's layered, sir, like several languages stacked over each other, and massive encryption." "Keep at it. Let's move," Jace said, motioning forward. Each step felt heavy, burdened by the oppressive weight of history. Irina tensed behind him. "Hold." Her voice was barely a whisper, but Jace froze. Faint rhythmic thuds pulsed through the floor, distant and mechanical. "Recon drones?" Anya ventured anxiously. "Possible, but let's not count on it." Suddenly, the glyphs flared to life, washing the corridor in an angry red hue. A mechanical screech pierced the air, and bulbous security drones detached from the ceiling, laser sights painting the team. "Fall back!" Jace yelled, just as the drones opened fire. They scattered, laser blasts searing the air where they'd stood just seconds before. Irina swore, firing her blaster in controlled bursts. 2 drones detonated under the onslaught, but more poured from the hidden vents. "We need to shut the system down," Jace shouted over the din. "Ben, find a control port." The engineer swore, scrambling back towards a fractured panel. Anya dashed beside him, her eyes wild with focus. "I don't need pretty," Ben grunted. "Just access." Jace and Irina laid down covering fire, desperate bolts of energy forcing the drones into evasive maneuvers. Ben yelped as a stray blast clipped his shoulder, but Anya was already at his side, medkit at the ready. Finally, Ben's fingers flew over an improvised interface. "Got it! Cycling defense system, now!" The glyphs stuttered, bathing the corridor in a flickering white glow. The drone spasmed, then fell silent, crashing to the floor. Jace slumped against the wall, chest heaving. "That was too close." "Sir," Anya's voice held a note of shock, "this system, it isn't autonomous. There's still someone or something running this place." A chill downran Jace's spine. The thought of an alien intelligence lurking somewhere within this ancient tomb was as exhilarating as it was terrifying. "This find just got a whole lot more important," he managed. Ben, see if you can isolate any data streams. The sooner we know who made this, the better. Anya, you help him translate if you can. Let's hope they didn't win this war, Irina muttered, eyes scanning the darkened corridor. Jace nodded grimly. He'd hoped to uncover secrets, but now the chilling thought hit him hard. Perhaps they'd stumbled face first into humanity's future. There was only one way to find out. Team, he said, let's finish this exploration. They pressed onwards, nerves on edge, senses straining against the encroaching silence. The corridor opened into a colossal chamber, the heart of the derelict. Towering consoles formed a vast circular network, their surfaces etched with the same alien script. In the center of the room, a raised platform held what could only be the ship's command center. Jace swallowed hard and approached the platform, the team falling into formation around him. Dust motes swirled in the shaft of light piercing the high ceiling, a ghostly spotlight illuminating an oversized command chair, and slumped in the chair was a skeleton in a tattered uniform. Well, they definitely lost, Anya quipped, the tension starting to bleed out of her voice. Jace focused on the alien remains. There was something eerily familiar about them. Anya, scan his DNA. She obliged, her handheld device whirring. A few tense seconds later, her face paled. They were human. The revelation crashed into Jace like a tidal wave. He stared at the remnants of what was undeniably a human being, seated in a vessel of terrifying power in the darkest corner of space. He thought of Earth, bustling with oblivious billions. How? He asked the empty air. Look closer, Anya said, her voice hushed. She pointed to a tarnished emblem on the uniform, a stylized thunderbolt beneath a solitary star. It was the badge of the long-lost Terran Confederacy, humanity's legendary first attempt at interstellar unification, lost over 1,000 years ago, presumed decimated in some forgotten war. This wasn't a discovery, Irina breathed, her gruff voice wavering. This was a homecoming. Jace turned, his gaze sweeping over the vast chamber. The weapons that ended them, whatever they were, they could still be coming. Ben, find me those data streams. The team surged into action, driven by a renewed sense of urgency. While the skeletal captain was long gone, the ship's data repositories might still hold his records, logs, any clue about what had happened here, and crucially, what might still be out there. Ben scrambled through the alien systems, his face scrunched with concentration. It's insane, sir. This ship, it's a warship, like nothing we've ever conceived. Jace stood beside Ben, watching the frantic ballet of alien characters dance across the screen. Anya hummed thoughtfully, cross-referencing her own handheld scanner. Their terminology's fascinating, highly tactical, almost predatory. And these power readings, Anya trailed off, shaking her head. Sir, this ship could have glassed a planet. Then why didn't they? Irina asked. Despite her tough exterior, the vulnerability in her voice was clear. Jace felt a similar chill of dread. He looked at a viewport to the distant shimmer of Earth's star system. It might already be too late. Incoming transmission, Hero called out from the shuttle, his voice cracking with tension. It's from Earth, sir. Highest priority scramble. Jace raced out of the chambers, the others on his heels. As they reached the shuttle, a hologram shimmered into existence. It was Commander Chen, but her usual composure was shattered. Jace, she barked, something's happening. Readings are off the charts. Multiple FDL signatures converging on your position. His blood ran cold. How many? We're counting dozens, maybe more. ETA under 12 hours, Chen said, her face pale. Jace, get your people out of there. Whatever you found, it's woken something up. Jace's world tilted on its axis. After a lifetime yearning for contact with alien life, the reality was brutal, immediate, and utterly terrifying. Commander, can you hold them? He asked tightly. Earth's defenses were formidable, but no one knew what horrors were bearing down on them. Chen grimaced. We'll buy you time, Doctor, but 12 hours isn't much against an armada. Get back here ASAP. We need more than time, Jace muttered, then turned to his team. Listen up. This just went from an expedition to a salvage mission. We need to know what's on this ship and warn Earth about what's coming. He paused, meeting each of their anxious gazes. If we're going to have a chance, we need to get this Titan flying. You want to what? Irene's eyes bulged, her voice incredulous even in the face of an intergalactic threat. Fly it, arm it, fight it, whatever it takes, Jace said. Ben, Anya, the clock is ticking. Start deciphering this tech as fast as possible. Find me those weapons and navigation cores, and pray this ship isn't as dead as her captain. Sir, yes, sir. Ben gulped, saluting before scrambling back toward the central chamber. Anya followed, her usual cynicism replaced by grim determination. Irina stood face to face with Jace, her eyes steely. "You're throwing your life away on a rust bucket." "Maybe," Jace acknowledged, "but I'd rather go down fighting for something than waiting to die." A grim smile tugged at Irina's lips. "Now there's the stubborn academic I signed up for. All right, Carter, let's see what this old girl can do." The next several hours were a blur of adrenaline-fueled chaos. Jace, Ben, and Anya wrestled with the alien technology. It was like trying to translate an alien language while building a rocket out of its scraps. The Titan was clearly designed for a physiology slightly different than theirs, making every interaction a frustrating puzzle. Yet beneath the alien structure lay a certain logic. Anya, her linguistic skills stretched to the limit, started seeing patterns in the codes. Each successful translation yielded a flicker of understanding, a system coaxed back to life, a control ray responding to Ben's desperate manipulations. Irina, meanwhile, scoured the ship for anything that might be repurposed. She unearthed caches of alien munitions, potent enough to level a small asteroid, and jury-rigged them into makeshift ship-to-ship weaponry. Each tiny victory spurred them on, sweat stinging their eyes, hands cramping under relentless effort. Hours bled together, the sense of time eroded by the looming deadline hanging over them all. Yet, against all odds, the impossible started to feel within reach. A gasp from Anya broke the silence. "Jace, I think I have it. Navigation." "Ben, status on the engines," he responded, hardly daring to hope. They're powering up," Ben stammered, his eyes wide. "It's like she's been sleeping, just waiting for someone to hit the snooze button." Jace turned, a surge of triumph making his head spin. The central chamber was awash with light now, consoles humming with newfound life. The Titan groaned as dormant systems roared back into existence. "Irina, weapon systems!" he shouted. Her reply crackled through the comms. "Ready to raise hell, Doctor." Jace took a deep breath. This relic held the echoes of an extinct civilization and perhaps humanity's only salvation. He closed his eyes for a moment, picturing Earth, so far away and unknowing. Then, with a newfound iron will, he gripped the alien command chair and made a decision that would change the course of history. "Let's light this candle." The Titan shuddered as its colossal engines roared to life, dust swirling as the ancient behemoth creaked in protest. Jace wrestled with the unfamiliar controls, a surge of heady power coursing through him. "We're airborne!" Ben shouted with a mix of terror and exhilaration. "Commander Chen," Jace called, his voice taut. "This is Dr. Carter. The Titan is operational. Repeat, operational. We're coming home." Static crackled in response. Then the commander's voice, thick with a mixture of shock and relief. "Carter, you crazy son of a... Get your team back here. Double time." As he guided the Titan through the treacherous docking bay, he caught glimpses of the team. Irina directing the evacuation with practiced efficiency, Anya's face alight with the thrill of the impossible, Ben casting one last longing look at the alien systems he'd coaxed back into life. He couldn't deny the rush of pride. They'd done it. They dared to dream the impossible, clawing back a weapon from the jaws of extinction itself. Yet as they rocketed away from the desolate tomb, Jace couldn't shake the sense of unease pricking at the back of his mind. The alien fleet was still out there. It was a borrowed weapon they held, a dead civilization's last stand. The Titan was a beacon of defiance, but beacons attracted attention. "Anya, scan for those FTL signatures," Jace ordered. "Let's see who we've woken up." Anya worked frantically, her console painting an ominous picture. "It's worse than we thought, sir. More ships than Commander Chen detected, converging fast." She relayed the coordinates to the Titan's navigation system, painting their screens with hostile red icons. The Titan's computer confirmed a grim prediction. Their current path would intercept the alien armada. Jace's heart sank. They were on a collision course. But then a flicker of reckless inspiration ignited in his mind. If they couldn't avoid their enemy, maybe they could lead them somewhere else. It was a desperate gamble, but the fate of Earth hung in the balance. With a grim smile, Jace tightened his grip on the control yoke. "Team, change of plans," he announced. "We're not going home. Not yet." A chorus of startled protests erupted over the comms. "Sir, with all due respect, that's suicide!" Irina barked. "Jace," even Anya sounded uncertain. He set his jaw and stared at the blinking red icons representing the encroaching armada. "This ship wasn't built to run. It was built to fight. Think about it. If we bring the battle to them, buy Earth some time, maybe they can rally a defense." It was madness. He knew a single ancient ship against untold numbers. Yet a strange calm settled over him. He'd spent his life studying history, the tales of valiant last stands against overwhelming odds, and in the bones of this alien vessel, he felt the echoes of those defiant warriors. "Ben, plot us a course." His voice was steady. "Right through the heart of that fleet." Ben, after a stunned pause, swallowed hard and complied. "Yes, sir. Course calculated. We'll be there in the midst of 5 hours. Anya, find me every scrap of data on their language. We might even be able to talk our way out of this," he added with a forced chuckle that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Irina, get ready to play target," he finished. The security chief swore, but there was a begrudging admiration now in her voice. The Titan, ancient and mighty, turned its reborn engines toward the approaching darkness. Jace Carter, archaeologist turned reluctant savior, took a deep breath, feeling the ghosts of history stirring all around him. He was a scholar, not a soldier, but as the Titan hurtled toward that sea of hostile red lights, he knew one thing. Sometimes the greatest discoveries were made in the crucible of battle. The hours leading up to the confrontation were a fever dream of preparation. Irina, with frightening competence, transformed the vast cargo bays into makeshift weapon depots. She distributed scavenged alien armaments to their small crew, running crash courses in their deadly functionality. Ben frantically jury-rigged translation software into their comms. As a ship designed for war, the Titan was remarkably unhelpful in offering peaceful communication channels. "Best I can do is give you targeting data in their language," he explained sheepishly. "Maybe if we shoot something important enough, they'll want to talk back." Jace forced himself to snatch moments of rest when he could, but mostly he stared out at the void, the distant red specks of the enemy growing steadily larger. He wasn't afraid, strangely. It was more of a chilling certainty that there would be no return from this. It was a scholar's ultimate lesson, understanding the price of history, written in blood and starlight. The first wave of the attack craft materialized from the darkness like angry wasps, sleek forms glinting against the starfield. Irina hissed orders, coordinating their point defense systems. He heard the thrum of laser cannons, the hiss of missiles, and the satisfying crump of detonations. The alien ships were fast, eerily agile, easily evading the Titan's ponderous guns. "Blasted!" Irina cursed. "These things are built to fight capital ships, not dogfighters." "Suggestions?" Jace asked, keeping his voice eerily calm. "We play chicken. Draw them close, then unleash hell," Irene replied grimly. "Ben, see if you can overheat our reactors. Make the Titan look like she's charging a big one. Might make these flies more curious." Her voice trailed off. Neither of them needed to say what came next. Overheating the ancient reactors was the equivalent of lighting a short fuse on a powder keg. Jace keyed his comms, his voice carrying through the ship. "All hands, brace for impact." There was a collective silence, and then a single word from Ben. "Sir?" "I know, son. Just give us a good show." Jace closed his eyes, seeing Earth in his mind. If this gambit worked, if the Titan could just cripple a few of these ships, buy Earth some precious minutes, it would be enough. He felt the ship groan in response as Ben pushed her past her safety limits. The lights flickered, consoles spitting sparks. The Titan thrummed with volatile power. It was time. "Irina, open fire!" The Titan unleashed a blinding storm of firepower. Lasers lanced out, searing the void. Alien munitions detonated in dazzling chain reactions across the hulls of enemy fighters. Their attackers, drawn in by the promise of an easy kill, suddenly found themselves in the jaws of a resurrected nightmare. For a few glorious minutes, the Titan burned brightly. It was a dance of fury and precision. Ben's frantic manipulations and Irina's tactical brilliance wringing every last drop of power from the ancient vessel. Enemy fighters disintegrated under the onslaught, their advance momentarily halted in shock. Then, just as quickly, the Titan sputtered, the lights dimming as vital systems began to fail. "Power drop-off! Reactors critical!" Ben's voice was thick with panic. They'd gambled and lost. The alien fighters, regrouping furiously, turned their wrath back on the Titan. Explosions rocked the ship, throwing the crew off their feet. "Jace!" Anya's voice was strange, tinged with fear. "I know," he replied grimly, the serenity of moments ago crumbling beneath the onslaught. "Ben, get us out of here!" Even in its weakened state, the Titan possessed raw power. Ben found a burst of speed, engines roaring as the behemoth lurched away from the swarming fighters. But their escape was cut short. A colossal shadow bolted out of the stars. A ship of monstrous size, dwarfing even the Titan, materialized from the inky depths. Its arrival sent a ripple of despair through Jace's crew. This was no raiding party, but the true might of the enemy fleet. "Target lock! Incoming fire!" Irina shouted. The Titan shuddered violently as a barrage of weapons unknown to human science ripped into its armor. Warning lights flared across the bridge, consoles exploding into showers of sparks. Each hit felt like a death blow, pushing the ancient Leviathan closer to oblivion. Jace slumped back in the command chair, a bitter laugh escaping his lips. They'd roused a sleeping giant, and now, it seemed, the giant was decidedly angry. This was the end of the line. Earth wouldn't even have time to say goodbye. The Titan, defiant to the end, shuddered and groaned, refusing to die silently. The enemy flagship loomed, an eclipse blotting out the starfield, its weapons spitting fiery death. Yet, even as the darkness enveloped them, a flicker of defiance sparked in Jace's eyes. "Ben, Anya," he said, his voice surprisingly steady. "One last trick." Anya stared at him in disbelief. "Sir, life support's failing. We'll barely survive another hit." "I know." Jace reached under the command console, ripping out a coil of wires. "But the nav core runs on its own power supply. At least for a little while." He slammed a fist down on the cracked panel. The Titan lurched, its mighty thrusters kicking in for one last desperate maneuver. "What are you doing?" Irina shouted through the comms. "Buying them a chance," Jace rasped, feeling pain and exhilaration in equal measure. The alien flagship, massive and ponderous, couldn't adjust its course fast enough. Jace watched with grim satisfaction as the colossal behemoth became a fixed point on the Titan's navigation computer. "Anya, full power to comms. Let's tell Earth what they're facing." He grinned, a wild, desperate grin. "Ben, I need you to hotwire the core. Maximum self-destruct yield." Confusion turned to chilling comprehension on his team's faces. "Sir, you can't be serious," Anya protested. Jace straightened, every inch of him suddenly radiating an iron resolve. This ship was a weapon built to die. Today, it dies again. The Titan, her borrowed heart roaring a furious death cry, turned her course, a fiery comet aimed squarely at the unsuspecting flagship. "Carter, out!" he managed, his voice thick with emotion as he broadcast it on every frequency. It was both a eulogy and a warning. Then, with a final act of rebellion, he jammed his finger onto the master detonation switch. The Titan, reborn one last time, hurtled towards an apocalyptic destiny. The Titan's final moments were a maelstrom of sound and fury. Blazing light filled the bridge as the ship's ancient core overloaded, warnings screaming as reality itself seemed to warp around them. Jace felt only a strange sense of peace. This was how the ancient captain must have felt. Surrounded by his crew, facing an indomitable enemy. It was a scholar's death, yes, but also a warrior's. The comms crackled one last time. Commander Chen's voice, choked with a mix of horror and pride, filled the bridge. "Jace Carter, your bravery will be remembered. Earth stands ready." He knew then that they hadn't failed. The Titan wouldn't deliver them home, but her dying scream had echoed across light years. Earth had been warned. Humanity had been given a fighting chance. A blinding wave of energy washed over the bridge as the Titan collided with the Leviathan flagship. The resulting detonation was a supernova in miniature, the flash searing Jace's retinas even through closed eyelids. Then, silence. He drifted in a sea of darkness, the echoes of that final cataclysm throbbing in his skull. How long it lasted, he couldn't tell. Time itself seemed to lose meaning. Then a flicker of light pierced the void, followed by a gentle rocking sensation. Jace pried open his heavy eyelids, blinking against the harsh glare. He lay in an infirmary? Groaning, he sat up. A figure hurried to his side, a familiar face creasing into a relieved grin. "Welcome back to the land of the living, Dr. Carter," Commander Chen. She pulled him into a fierce hug, her eyes filled with unshed tears. "It worked. Your signal reached us just in time. We rallied the fleet, engaged their forces at the system's edge. Thanks to you, we weren't caught off guard." He was alive. Earth was safe. A giddy wave of exhaustion washed over him. He looked around the infirmary. Ben's bandaged form occupied a neighboring bed. Anya and Irina were both there as well, battered but very much alive. He grinned. Even in death, the Titan had shielded him. "The fight's not over, Jace," Commander Chen said, her voice grim. But you, your team, you gave us hope. Because of you, humanity might just have a future after all." He felt a lump in his throat, a surge of pride that dwarfed any academic achievement. He'd never intended to be a hero, but the Titan, that ancient tomb of war, had forged him into one. The echoes of history swirled around him, the sacrifice of the Titan's original crew, his crew, and the uncountable billions who would never know the debt they owed. As Jace Carter closed his eyes, he realized something profound. Humanity hadn't just been given a chance, it had earned it. They had earned it through courage, ingenuity, and a willingness to fight tooth and nail for their place among the stars. And he, an ordinary scholar just thrust onto a path of galactic conflict, was forever bound to that legacy. The war raged on for years. It was a brutal, desperate struggle. But Earth held. Reinforced with knowledge gleaned from the Titan, humanity fought back with a defiant spirit of those ancient warriors. Jace Carter, forever changed by his experience, became an unlikely symbol. The soft-spoken archaeologist turned hardened strategist, his name whispered as both hero and legend. He never sought recognition, but his story, the story of the Titan, became the stuff of myth. It fueled the indomitable spirit of humanity, a reminder that even against impossible odds, one act of courage could ripple across galaxies. Decades later, with the war finally won, an aged Jace stood beside a vast, gleaming monument. It was sculpted in the form of the Titan, a tribute to the forgotten civilization and the scholars turned saviors who had echoed their courage. Children played amongst its towering form, their laughter a hopeful counterpoint against the sobering scale of the structure. He watched Commander Chen, grizzled now, but still filled with unwavering determination, address the crowd below. Her voice rang out, echoing with the lessons of the past. It was an old ship from an old war, crewed by ghosts. But it showed that even in the darkest of times, when it all seems lost, humanity finds a way. Anya, Irina, and Ben stood beside Jace. They bore the scars of war, yet in their eyes burned a fire that no darkness could quench. They had faced the abyss, and humanity had endured because of their sacrifice. Jace smiled wryly. He never imagined himself a warrior, but he understood now the greatest battles weren't fought on distant stars alone. They fought in the hearts of ordinary men and women who dared to stand against the encroaching night, wielding hope and ingenuity as the most potent weapons of all. He glanced down at the wide-eyed children, the future inheritors of a hard-won legacy. Yes, humanity would continue to explore the cosmos, to reach and to learn, but they would never again venture blindly. For the echoes of the Titan, the whispers of history, and the sacrifices of countless forgotten heroes had taught them an unyielding truth. Among the stars, they would walk not as innocents, but as warriors. Warriors ready to face whatever the universe might throw their way. Their spirits forever tempered by the fires of adversity. The spirit of the Titan lived on, not just in cold monuments, but in the heart and soul of a resilient humanity, forever ready to fight for their place in the cosmos.